Happy Thursday, guys. March 26th. We are live here on PuckTime WagerTalk TV. Today, Andrew McInnis, Brian Leonard, Don Buster here to break down a handful of games with you. Carm has the day off, but don't worry. He still has a play of the day for you guys here on the show. I missed yesterday's show. I was doing some moving stuff. And as you can tell with kind of the grim setup today and nothing in the background once again, we are still getting that stuff figured out. So on an old computer, old setup, old desk, but Brian, we're ready to roll here. We can't miss back-to-back shows, that's for sure. And nobody likes moving, man. But once you get to the new spot, it's always fun. So Brian, I'm sure you were excited about yesterday. They called it opening day in baseball, but I'll tell you, it really feels like opening day today. And of course, yesterday there were just 2 NHL games. I decided to pass, so it kind of worked out very well because you know what? Not being on a show when it's a busy day kind of sucks. But yesterday, having to miss the show and only 2 games wasn't too bad. But how you doing, Brian? How was your Wednesday?
I'm doing really well. I'm glad you explained your situation because the way it looks to me is I thought for a minute there that you had gotten arrested and you were calling one of us for bail. But yeah, the moving sucks. It moves anytime you move, it sucks. Everybody knows it. I'm sure you'll be happy when you get in there. Yeah, it was a game last night that Major League Baseball, and I never had a chance to watch it because I was working on everything else going on today. Just a huge day. Obviously, the NCAA tournament, NBA's got a few games. Hockey's got a really nice card today, and 11 games in baseball. So a lot going on today. Let's get to it and get you some winners.
Let's do it. And I'll just say with this here, I did have one play, and it was Max Fried under 1.5 earned runs. And I love that, the way it worked out, because it got sweaty with the first inning. Other than that, it was pretty good. But, Brian, I saw a lot of people like that first 5 innings under or full game under even. And it was one pitcher that pitched well, and Logan Webb got attacked. So it was nice to have a winner to start the year off there. And, again, NHL was pretty quiet. We got Carmine in the chat. Good to have Carmine here with us again. We will have a play of the day at the end of the show from him. Brian, you know I love talking about Montreal, so let's start things off with that game. Montreal around -125. Numbers we're going to talk about today are overnight numbers. We will mention some line moves as they happen and when they do happen. But Brian, look, these are 2 teams in pretty good form, but especially this Blue Jackets team. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, it's hard for anybody to find a reason to go against this Columbus Blue Jackets team right now. We've talked about it ad nauseum, and I always give a shout out to Dave Koch, and rest in peace to Dave about the coaches firing. It seems like when any coach gets fired, it just absolutely jolts a team. And it's an understatement when you really talk about that with Columbus right now. Big win for Montreal against Carolina, though, on Tuesday. What do you think about this matchup today?
Yeah, this is an exciting game. You mentioned how well these teams are doing. You've got a Montreal team that's been just terrific at home as of late. They're on a really nice run, and you're going up against this Columbus team that, you look at this month, and just the last couple of weeks, they did have losses to Florida and to the Islanders, but they gave up 1 goal in regulation to Florida and 1 goal to the Islanders. So defense on this team has just really been very good. The other games played lately, they've been up 2, 3, 1, 1. So it's a situation right now where the Blue Jackets defensively are doing really well. And I think they'll have some success here against a Montreal team who is also playing very well right now. You take a look at the Canadiens, they are in a better scheduling situation. And right now, we're going to have this because of the Olympic break and all that. But you're going to have to take major looks at the schedule. Now, this is only the second game in 4 days for Montreal, while we've got the same or a similar situation to the Blue Jackets. But this is the third game in 5 days for the Blue Jackets, 4th game in 6 days. So I think that evens it out a little bit. I had Columbus slightly favored in this game, and I did lean a little bit that way. But with the scheduling situation, it puts me a little bit more on the home team in this one. So it's what I would consider a game that we're looking in the 115 to 120 range. I probably would have made it 120 to 125. So slight lean with Montreal, but should be a really good game. And these two teams are playing well. Montreal, as you know, they had hit that little slump there, and people were worried. But I believe they have like a 3-game lead now in that spot in the standings. So should be a really nice game. Excited to be able to catch it a little bit.
Yeah, playing Carolina twice in a matter of I think 6 or 7 days. They needed to get one of those wins from the way people looked at it. And one difference I'll say about the Canadians, Brian, as I always do, I try and take my bias hat off when I talk about this team, but I've noticed they've been able to come back in games a lot more. Like last year, the only games they would win were games that they got the lead in. They weren't able to come back. And that game against Carolina they played, that was probably the worst first period I've seen them play all year long. And I remember a reporter asked St. Louis after the game, hey, did you say something to the team at the intermission? And he kind of looked at, are you stupid? Of course I said something to them. I needed to get them motivated a little bit. So I think that the start's going to be really good for them. I was kind of looking at Montreal first period money line. Usually when I play those bets, I'm playing like the -0.5 goal to get a better price or a first period total. But I am a big fan of from one game to the next, teams don't forget certain things that happened. And even though Montreal ended up winning that game, I think the coach is going to remind them how horrible they looked in the first period of their previous game. As you mentioned, Columbus has been extremely busy lately. So I think first period money line, it's pretty much the same price as the full game money line. I just think Montreal comes out. And one thing as well, this is a pretty young team. I believe they're top 2 as far as the youngest teams in the league. Their home games down the stretch are so important, Brian, and we don't want to put too much into it, but they're going to go on the road here soon to play Nashville and Carolina. I think it's really important you protect home ice and get the wins at home when you can. So Montreal for me at home in the first period. Again, I'm not a huge coaches quotes guy, but I watch games. And when I watched the game, I said, wow, this team looks awful in the first period. Hopefully they'll right their wrongs when it comes down to the next one. But I want to ask you, Brian, are you finding yourself more involved in games involving playoff teams or non-playoff teams? Because yesterday, the reason why I ended up passing the board was because I leaned the Rangers and they actually outplayed the Leafs, but they lost. And I said to myself, why do I want to get myself involved in a game between two teams that aren't even in the playoffs?
It all comes down to value to me. It's not a game that is not a physical game. We talk about this in football all the time. It's not like you can not run as hard or not try as hard, because if you are that way, you're going to get knocked on your ass. I mean, when these guys are on the ice, they're there to win. So, yes, they may get rid of some of the players and maybe take them out. Not if you got some injury complaints that they need to worry about, those guys may not play. But still, whoever's on the ice is going to give full effort. And as we have seen all season long, these guys playing in the minors most of them are just like they call it in baseball, like a quad A. They're between the A or triple A and the majors. These guys are up and down all the time, and they take advantage of whenever they get the chance, because they may only get 2,000 people to go see their minor league game. They get 20,000 to see their NHL games. So they're out there playing as hard as they can. So I just look for where I think the value is, and it doesn't matter if one team is in the playoffs, the other's not. If one team has locked it up and the others fighting, you got to take every game individually and try to guide some motivation. But the motivation in hockey isn't quite there, because if you're not motivated, you're going to get hurt.
100%, a contact sport, Brian, for sure. And we always say must win does not mean will win, because if you were good enough to be in the playoffs, you'd be in the playoffs already. So great stuff. Shout out to all the guys in the live chat right now on YouTube and on X with us, commenting, chiming in. Well over 250 people here right now watching the show. Let us know what you think of the games for tonight, and also hit the like button. It really does help us out. Brian, you've got a great special going on. I believe it's NHL and MLB. I've got a special going on right now. It's MLB and CFL. So as you can tell, guys, a lot of people are tagging MLB with their specials, but it's that time of year where some sports are going to start winding down and some sports are going to start picking up. And for me, my bread and butter in the summer is CFL, and I also do quite a bit of team totals and first 5 inning plays with MLB. So they can go to wt.buzz/BL. And Brian, you'll have that up for the next little while at least, right? That package?
I think they might have taken it down, but if you were to text the office, just tell them that we reminded them of it, and yeah, you'll be able to get in. And I've already got a play up in hockey, a nice play up in hockey today, and I've got 4 plays up in baseball, including my top total of the day in baseball. Really excited. I didn't have anything yesterday, but good card today. And by the way, since we mentioned it, I'll be doing daily videos of baseball, try to make it as short as possible, talk about a game. I'm going to be putting that together right after we get done with this show. So a lot of stuff out there for us. If you do miss the baseball show, I'm on Total Bases every day, 6 a.m. here Pacific.
Ooh.
So a lot of time to find other information since then, and hopefully we can get you some nice videos. So yeah, really excited. Number 1 all time in the NHL in profit, number 1 all time in Major League Baseball.
Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal there, Brian. That's for sure. Chuck says, especially hard to find PuckTime on YouTube today. So I'll tell you guys this. With our YouTube channel, there are 2 channels. There are 2 streams being put out. One is the YouTube Shorts and one is the regular live show. This is the live show. If it's vertical, the horizontal one is the regular show, and the vertical one is for the shorts. Also, if you guys are looking for the show afterwards, after we're done going live, you don't go to videos on the YouTube section. You go to live, and the past live shows will show up there as well. All the pre-recorded baseball videos that Brian and I record and other handicappers record, and soccer stuff for Carmine, you can get those under the video section. So just wanted to make sure that nobody misses out on our stuff here, Brian. That's for sure. Let's bring in Buster.
I'll be honest with you, and before we get to Buster, hey Buster,
hey guys,
YouTube, why don't they just put the latest videos on the top and work it down? That's a pet peeve of mine. I usually have to put in the date. So I go back, because we all try to go back in and give some comments on some of the questions. And a lot of times I myself have a hard time doing that. So it is more work than it should be. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. Buenos dias, Buster. How are you?
Buenos dias. ¿Cómo estás, boys?
No complaints.
You called us the name.
No, how you doing?
Besides looking like I'm in a holding cell right now, we're doing pretty good, Buster. I heard you were talking to some people watching the show.
Yeah, actually, I was going to talk about before the breakdown, but thank you for mentioning that. I just want to do, I usually don't get much of a chance to talk on the little personal stuff, but I'm just going to take a couple minutes, but I think it's worth it to let people know in the chat and people that watch this on how hockey is becoming. We all know it's a worldwide sport, but me and Mrs. Buster have been going through getting our permanent residency here in Mexico. And like every country, it's government stuff. So it's, if you make a mistake on paperwork, it's tough. So I just want to make a shout out to my buddy Omar, who helped us huge yesterday. I think we only have to do 2 more appointments now to get our permanent residency. But I met Omar a couple of weeks ago, and he says to me, "Oh, you're from Canada. Do you watch hockey at all?" I was like, "Do I watch hockey?" And I show him PuckTime. That he's like, "Oh, me and my friends, we love hockey down here. We've been watching it." He goes, "You wouldn't believe how many people here in Mexico love hockey." And in his family too, who's scattered across Mexico and a lot of places, they're big hockey fans. I know in Puerto Vallarta, it's become big too as well. So again, I wanted to, usually I cheese these guys off on that, but it's immigration. So, he's not, that's his job, what he did yesterday for us, but it was a huge help. And I know he watches the show with his buddies. As I said to him, make sure you hit that like button. And I just wanted to mention that because as a hockey guy, who I've loved hockey all my life, and I know a lot of guys that we've had watching this show for 7-8 years, that have been staying with us, the PuckTime family. we're all love hockey. And to see that it's maybe now North American wide eventually, that's a great thing. That really is a great thing. It's always, so really impressed. I know there's a ton of Mexican Americans that watch hockey. I've talked with them. They've been my clients. But when Omar mentioned that to me, said, hey, just let people know hockey is starting to become a thing down here. So it might take another 5 to 10 years. But I was quite impressed. So I did want to tell that little story. Hopefully I didn't waste too much of time, but I thought it was very important to let anybody that loves hockey know that this game is getting worldwide in almost every country.
We're all about growing the game, Buster. We're all about growing the game, that's for sure. And I know you've told me, I've got some family that vacation in Mexico, and they've said they've had no trouble watching playoff games or regular season games. And hey, if you're going to vacation somewhere, you want to be able to talk hockey and also watch hockey with people, that's for sure. I remember I was in Punta Cana one time, and I was watching the March Madness finals just at a local bar in Dominican. And it was pretty cool because like all the Americans gathered and people that were from there gathered, and half the bar was cheering for one team, half the bar was cheering for the other. And I had no affiliation. I was just there for the atmosphere. It was just great to be a part of. And it felt so cool watching a March Madness game, in a whole different part of the world, which is always a lot of fun because, hey, you realize everybody loves sports no matter where you go. So on that note, let's get back to it here. We've got one team you're going to talk about, Buster, that just refuses to lose. There's a lot of teams in the NHL we can talk about that refuse to lose. And well, Brian and I just talked about CBJ, and that's a pretty good team right now. But you're going to talk about our nation's capital here in Canada. And this team, they are look, the funny thing is I made fun of Detroit for a little while because I said, you know what, this team, they're costing me. I mean, I lost so much with them to start the year. The clients probably hated seeing me fading Detroit. And then they started to finally fade off a little, and they got injuries, and then they got it going again. And I said, okay, maybe this team's going to be better. So I said to Carmine on our make or miss segment, they're going to make it, thinking that Ottawa, there's no way they could sustain it. Well, Buster, they've been sustaining it a bit, but also Pittsburgh's got some juice to them as well. What do you think about this game today?
Yeah, Andrew, as I came on the show on Tuesday, and we gave out 2 winners. We took Colorado and over. Really, really liked that. Put them out to our clients and put them out for the show. Unfortunately, everybody, we'll only be giving you 1 winner tonight in a Pittsburgh game. But first, I'm going to take a quick look at the total for everyone. These teams have played this season already twice. 2 unders, 3-2, 4-0, both Senators wins. In fact, when these teams get together, it's amazing because, you'd think that'd be high-scoring games, but that's not the case. They've gone under 8 times out of the last 10 games. So that's something that is interesting. This did open at 6.5 under 20, and then it got bet down last night to around 6. But I see this morning, like bright and early this morning, it was already bet back up to 6.5. So the markets are not too sure about this as well. And like I said, you mentioned it, Andrew. After most of the season, with Ottawa being basically almost a dead over team, especially at home, they're on the opposite side here. They've gone under in 7 of their last 10 games. But on the opposite side of this total, you've got a Pittsburgh club that doesn't play any defense. Sometimes they get some good goaltending, and they have gone over 9 of the last 10 times. So for me, another thing that, at 6.5, you almost, because of the trend, you almost want to say, well, under's a play, but I just can't bet these 2 teams under, especially as they both have very good power plays. So that's always dangerous. So we're going to pass the total here, but what we will do, we're playing Ottawa. And we talked Tuesday on how we, actually Carmine asked me if I thought Pittsburgh was going to make the playoffs. And I said, no, and I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs. There's just too many teams there. And this is a perfect example of a game that Ottawa and Pittsburgh both need to win. Now, Ottawa, as you said, Andrew, they just keep winning. They've gone since the Olympic break 10-4. And actually, in those 2 of those 4 losses, they went to overtime. So they got a point in each one of those. And we did talk about when these teams get together, they play a bunch of unders. Well, you know what else happens when the teams get together? Ottawa has dominated these guys. They've won both games this year, and they're 8-2 their last 10 over Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, when they play in Ottawa, they have lost their last 5 tries to win in Ottawa. Again, they're both fighting for the playoffs. The money line, I think, is right where it's supposed to be. Like I said, with Colorado, and Colorado was on the road. The only thing is that Ottawa are playing that 3rd game, I believe, in 4 nights. So that's a little something, but they had yesterday off. So that's not a big deal. Our play here is Ottawa.
Well, look, I don't blame you one bit, Buster, just with how well this team has been playing. And they've been even overcoming some injuries as well. At this point, I mean, look, there's still a handful of games left in the season, but I'm going to put you on the spot with this one here and catch you off guard a little. I mean, who misses the playoffs? Is it the Bruins, or is it the Penguins? Or this matchup is, even though they're not in the same division, this matchup is huge for both of these teams in their own way.
Yeah, well, as me and Carmine talked about on Tuesday, I believe Pittsburgh is the team that will miss the playoffs. There's but there's such a logjam there. So, do the Islanders sneak up and get a spot? I don't think so. You know, I really like what I'm seeing out of Columbus. I'm really liking what I see out of Ottawa. And I'm just going to make another little point about Ottawa. When they played in Detroit the other night, they got outplayed bad, and they still won. So now they've played a shit game, and now they've got a day off. They're going to be really strong, because sometimes you win games in this league, and we all know that when your goaltending is good. And Allmark's been good for the Ottawa Senators. So I do like Ottawa and Columbus to sneak into those spots. And I believe they're both in spots right now, or Ottawa's just out of a spot. So maybe Pittsburgh's the team out, and I believe that's what's going to happen.
Buster, I'll tell you, man, we got a big Thursday NHL. We got the real opening day with 1 million games. Yeah. And, of course, I told you I'm busy with my stuff. I don't know what I'd be doing without this. Some Canadians have moved past it. I'm still pretty loyal to the good old Tim Hortons. So it's a busy, busy day for all of us. What do you have going on at WagerTalk?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you being on the shows and doing the great work that you're doing with that baseball show as well. You guys, you haven't talked about it today, but we have that great deal that the head office has decided to keep around because it's been such a popular deal. You get 3-day all access for $69, and you get 3 free days. That is an excellent offer for anyone that just wants to even try a handicapper out. You always been thinking to play, because you don't want to just buy one game here and there, because that, you need to have a little bit of time, and 6 days is perfect. And this is a perfect time for it too. And MLB, as you said, today is kind of opening day, even though the Yankees played last night. And we're very involved in MLB. As I mentioned before, we were number 1 in profit in MLB last year, about 76 units, I believe. And we have a bunch of games up for today in Major League Baseball. We also have NHL hockey. That's going to be great. Saturday's going to be a big night in NHL. And, of course, tonight starts the Sweet 16 in college basketball. You'll want to grab – I'm not going to say what I was going to say. You want to go to the site and go to the site and get that play.
Whatever you do.
Whatever you do, get the 3-day all access, and then you get 6 days. You wanna go over there and get that.
He almost said it.
I almost did. And remember, that includes all 5% plays, which I'm sure all of us that will be selling that might have one up in the next 6 days.
Hey, Carmine's encouraging it here. He's grabbed Buster's package. On that note, Buster, we'll talk to you later, brother. Have a good night, man.
Yeah. Best of luck, everyone. Have a great weekend.
And go Habs, as always. Oh man, Brian, what a way to end it there with the Grab and Buster's package. Great stuff there. Get Buster's stuff at WagerTalk.com, of course. Great breakdown. And, you know, I told you before earlier in the year, Brian, I have a tough time sometimes like keeping it simple. And if you look at teams like Ottawa, Buffalo, and Columbus, the three of those teams, you could have just played them on repeat for the last 2 months and you could have just had a ton of success. It's all about sometimes keeping it simple, but great stuff there from Buster. We got some more games to break down. Let's not waste any time here, Brian. We've got Anaheim and Calgary to get to. One playoff team versus a non-playoff team. But as I was talking about on the show with Carmine, this is the worst division by far in hockey. And a lot of people have talked about how this is one of, you know, I've seen other sport podcasts starting to pick up on how horrible the format is for the playoffs. I even saw some like Barstool baseball podcast talking about it yesterday because it doesn't make any sense. Like right now in the Western Conference, you would have the number 6 and number 7 seed playing each other in the playoffs. That doesn't make any sense, you know? So, but when you look at this matchup, Brian, how do you feel about Ducks and Flames?
Yeah, this is sort of like if you're a baseball fan, the AFC Central with the Tigers, the Indians, and this year I think somebody's going to break out. They have a pretty good season there, but yeah, it's about the way it's been. And when they play outside of the division, you have to know that. That's why I mentioned the teams in the West. I got to have a pretty good idea to play a team from the Pacific Division when they become a favorite. And Anaheim in this game is about a 135 favorite right now, up to 140 at some places. Anaheim's playing pretty good hockey again as of late, but they just won their last 3 games. They went on the road and beat a pretty good Utah team out west. They're 4-1. Beat that game 4-1. Then they played Buffalo, and that was a really exciting game. And they upset Buffalo. Actually, Buffalo, the hottest team in hockey, and they beat them 6-5. And I thought they would have a little bit of a letdown when they played Vancouver last time out. They didn't. They came to play. So that tells me they're focused in pretty well here for Anaheim. Playing Calgary right now, and then they got to go on the road and play the Edmonton Oilers. So it's important games for them. Calgary's a team that maybe we wrote off too soon because they're playing a lot better hockey now than they have in the past, especially in this building. This is the 5th of a 6-game homestand for them. They beat St. Louis on the 18th, the St. Louis team that has been very good since the Olympic break. They beat Florida, the champions for the last couple of years, with a lot of games under their belt. They're starting to wear out, and we saw that coming. We talked about that earlier in the season. They beat Florida 4-1 to basically put a fork in their season. Then they get the Tampa Bay game. They get Tampa Bay, one of the hottest teams at home, and they beat Tampa Bay in overtime. And, of course, I think they're going to have a letdown. Last time they're out, I like the Kings. They beat the Kings in a shootout. I hate the shootouts. God, they're killing me all season long.
It's the worst.
But it's terrible. And I was talking to some guys the other day that are fringe hockey fans. They didn't even realize in the playoffs you don't have to worry about that because they continue to play overtimes. And so they got excited. They go, I hate that overtime shit. And so now we got another fan for postseason hockey. But after they beat me on the 24th, just 2 days ago, I think there's a little bit of value here on Calgary against Anaheim. The line's a little bit higher than what I thought it was going to be. So if I'm going to play this game, I would play the underdog. It's probably not going to make my card. Too many other games I like better today. But if you have any doubt, I think there's a little bit of value here on Calgary. I'm seeing some places you can get upwards of 127 on the Calgary Flames.
I'll give you the side in this one, Bri, but I'll take a look at the total here. When I'm a big fan of recent form when it comes to goaltending and looking at the full season for Devin Cooley, who's projected for today. Of course, the West Coast game, so we don't have starters. We love and hate that we do this show so early. I wish it was like baseball, which you just knew every day roughly who those starters were going to be. But 915 save percentage on the season for Cooley. But last 3 games, that turns into an 886 save percentage. So I love looking at these drastic dips from the full season average to the last few games average. For him, expected goals against last handful of games, 3.51. But listen to this for Lucas Dustel. This kind of cracks me up as far as the analytics are concerned, Brian. His save percentage the last 3 games is .930, which is respectable, right? Not a lot of goalies are even going over 9 these days, or 900. His goals against per game, last 3 games, is exactly 2 on average. The expected goals against per game, 4.36. So it tells you all you need to know about this Anaheim defense, and that bodes well for your underdog play, is that we actually have the data telling us that Dustel is keeping them in games. The expected goals against 4.36, but yet he's averaging only 2 goals against per game. So he is superseding his numbers in a way that we don't think is sustainable. So I'm going to go with just the over, because I think that both teams in their own right are going to be able to score goals. And it's so funny, Brian, because I never used to care too much about goaltending, but what I do like to look at is a drastic fall off from their season average and then in their recent form over the past couple games. And sometimes you can take a look at the goalie's numbers, like I said, for Anaheim's goalie, and you're like, okay, they're playing pretty well, but the defense is not playing well at all. And there's only so many times you can ask a goalie to stand on his head before he falls on his face a couple times.
I agree. It's you always want to see how a goalie's faring right now, because they're like pitchers in baseball or hitters or whatever. They get on a hot streak. They call the hot hand in the NBA and that kind of thing. So I don't believe that in the individual game, but it's something to keep an eye on. If a guy's finding his groove and he's the goaltender, that's the most important position in hockey. That changes your outlook a lot of times.
100%. But sometimes you also want to ride a hot goalie because they just can't stop winning, and they end up, changing how they are a little bit. Never forget that Jordan Binnington run. He was a rookie called up, and that, what was it, 2019 for the Blues, and they end up winning it. And a big guy, Matt Murray for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Obviously, you remember Marc-Andre Fleury when he played for Vegas, and Matt Murray was the one that kind of booted him out of Pittsburgh because he took over in Pittsburgh. And then when Pittsburgh realized they wanted to keep Murray, they got rid of Flower and took him to Vegas. And now Matt Murray plays in the AHL. He isn't even an NHL goalie anymore. So he's got 2 Stanley Cup rings, Brian. Doesn't even play in the NHL anymore. It's like always that question. Would you rather play a few years in professional sports but win a championship, or have a 20-year career but never win? It's that age-old question, I guess.
It's the Eli Manning of the NFL. Mediocre career quarterback that wins championships. Hey,
yeah,
what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Edmonton and Vegas. Speaking of Vegas here, look, I got to admit here, Brian, this team, there's no better way of saying it. This team has pissed me off lately, and luckily for me is I've stayed off them more. But I did give them a chance probably 2 or 3 more times than I should have. And then we start going against them. We start asking ourselves, should they even be laying a price like this? And I know you've had success at least 1 or 2 times. I've heard you questioning why they're favored in a certain way. Look, we keep talking about the division. I caught a part of PuckTime yesterday where you were talking about the Western Conference, but more specifically, it's this division that is so weak. Right. So now we have these 2 teams going together. The good news is they both can't lose here, Brian. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I don't know if I told the story on this show yesterday, but there was a big get-together in town. We were down on the Strip. I was down there with Ski, NBA basketball expert, Rob Vino, college basketball expert, and Ted Savransky, pretty much an expert in everything. He does a terrific job. But we're down at the Art House in Vegas, and the Knights run supposed to be playing right there. There were 25 TVs. They didn't have the Knights game on any of the TVs. They were watching exhibition baseball. So I turned to Ski because he's a local, and I said, "What do you think of that?" He goes, "It's not the same as it was a couple of years ago." And I said, "No." I said, "I sure hope Vegas doesn't become one of those fair weather cities." But that tells you people. Even my wife didn't want to watch a game the other day. So people are getting frustrated with this team. A lot of people don't even want them to make the playoffs at this point. I feel like we're Toronto. But yeah, they're not playing well defensively. Yes, Hill is playing well. But that offense, the last 5 games, they've averaged 1 goal a game, and they're playing an Edmonton right now that they're getting a little bit better defensively. as the season ends. Obviously, they lost one of their key offensive players. But the only way I'm looking at this game is either to play Edmonton or the under, or maybe just Vegas team total under, because Edmonton's a team. They've already won the first two games against Vegas this year. This series has been strange ever since it started. Edmonton has dominated the regular season. Vegas has dominated the playoffs. So if this is your normal Vegas regular season game against Edmonton, there's no way I can lay this number.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. But then sometimes, Brian, I try and ask myself, like, what are the bookmakers thinking here? Because you never want to discredit the books, but our job is to try and find those discrepancies and when they're wrong. But I'll tell you, for me in this one, I'm going to look towards the under, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a contrarian because you look at the Oilers and any game they play in, we see electricity. But until I start seeing a couple games in a row where Vegas is just lighting up the score sheet, I think they're going to want to focus on defensive hockey too. So I like the totals quite a bit today. It's hard not to take the dog in this one. I just think, Brufessor says it right here. Vegas has been overpriced all year long, which is a very, very good comment. So look, this isn't going to make my card, but at this point, until I see it, I'm not going to bet it. And I don't think right now Vegas is going to be lighting up the score sheet. There was a time and place where Dorofeyev was scoring every game, and Eichel was looking unbelievable. And these guys have certainly slowed down a bit, that's for sure. So, and Brian, look, I make my jokes online, and I'm a fan. Like, look, I don't even live in Montreal, but obviously Montreal is a storied franchise, but they haven't won anything since I was born, pretty much. Vegas won a championship a handful of years ago, but what I'm saying here, and based on what I'm about to say, I don't think you disagree with me much, because it sounds like you were going down the same thing. When I've talked with people about Vegas and the Knights, and it was mostly people kind of rubbing it in my face how good they were a couple years ago, I said you really learn a lot about fans when the team's not playing well, not as much about the fans when the team is playing well. So we're going to learn a lot about how loyal the Vegas fan base is. But the thing is, they have not been bad, Brian, since they became a franchise. Like I was saying, yes, I'm going away on May 1st, and I feel like I owe it to myself to drive or fly to Montreal to see the playoffs, because I've watched them be horrible for the last 8 years of my life, right? So it's kind of like, I have to go watch them, because I have sat through that pain of I would get so excited every day for a couple of years in a row to watch them, and they would lose 5-2 every game. So I feel like I owe it to myself to watch now in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I've been around a long time, and Cleveland's not had a lot of success in anything. So when the Cavaliers were in the finals twice, I flew back both times. I went to San Antonio once when they lost to the Spurs. But yeah, it's something you may never see again. And you're a young guy; you got a long time to go yet. But it's frustrating when you're a team. That's why when the Cubs, you had to cheer for the Cubs when the Cubs started winning. You got to cheer for these teams when they get the chance. I'm going into the playoffs in hockey this year. I'm cheering for all those teams that normally are not there, the Buffaloes, the Montreals, San Jose makes it, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm excited, Columbus. So, yeah, I like the underdogs going into the playoffs. I'm rooting for them personally. Don't know if my money will be on them, because we got to take every game individually. But I'm excited for those fans of those teams.
It's nice when you can mix it up, right? And it's funny, because I always preach that the NHL is a competitive league. But the funny thing is, we have seen Florida go to the Cup Finals many years in a row. But so that kind of defeats my point I usually make. But the only thing I will say is the number one overall pick, even though it's a sport with 21 players, is very, very impactful. Like some people, Wayne Gretzky was arguing that Matthew Schaefer could win the Hart Trophy this year, or the MVP. The MVP of the year, because how important he was to his team. Macklin Celebrini, 20 years old? He was the MVP of the San Jose Sharks. So it does go to show that rebuilding does work in the NHL.
I love it when you have the ability to turn around your program in no time. Baseball does that. I want to talk about this a little bit yesterday, so I'll just touch on it now, because it is basically what we're talking about. If you were to look at the teams before the season, projected points, 90 points pretty much is a pretty good season. Luckily, gets you into playoffs. The 5 worst teams in the Eastern Conference, Washington, New Jersey, Florida, Toronto, and the New York Rangers, were all expected to get 90 points or more. So they've all been very disappointing. And if you go out west, 4 of the 8 teams with the worst record were expected to score 90 points or more. So it's a season. I always talk about it. I said there's a lot of luck involved when it comes to the NHL, a lot of luck involved when it comes to baseball. And those are the games that you can really make some good money on when you're betting underdogs. If you're new to this, if you're new to baseball, I would suggest paying more attention to the underdogs, because in football, if you're getting, a really good team playing at home, you see lines of 17 points anymore in the NFL. You never used to see that kind of thing. Those teams in a physical game like that, they're not going to win many of those games.
Great point, Brian. And it's also important to just keep up to date with current form, because if you're popping in and out, you would have had no idea that Ottawa's playing well again, Buffalo's playing well again. All of a sudden San Jose was playing well, and now they're not playing well anymore. So NHL and MLB, very much so current form type of sports.
Yeah.
You need to be able to know who's hot and who's cold. Speaking of which, Carmine has been hot with his plays of the day, what feels like almost all year long here. Brian, so he's got one for us this time around, and he's rocking with Tampa Bay minus the 1.5 goals. Look at that bankroll he's built up, earning himself some money and earning, hopefully, the viewers some money as well. So Carmine, we saw him in the live chat. We did not forget about you, Carm. Minus 1.5 goals, the puck line for Tampa against the Kraken. What a fall off it was for the Kraken, Brian. This team, they had hopes for the playoffs, and they're not getting there. And, they made the playoffs their first year they existed as a franchise, and ever since then it hasn't looked as good. But best of luck to Carmine. Get his plays, hockey and soccer and more. WT.buzz/CB. And we'll be back in action together on Friday, I believe, together. So look forward to that. And Carm had an appointment today, but he'll be back with us again. All right, Brian, before we wrap things up, big day today. I'm sure, you already mentioned that package you have going, but any final few words you want to say?
Yeah, everything's up today. We got 8 plays actually. So if you want to buy a full day thing, that the one that Buster talked about, to buy 3, get 3, we've got a 5% in the NCAA tournament, the big dance tomorrow. We won both our other 5% in the tournament. We're really excited. Really had a nice college basketball season, and we've done very well in this. So yeah, if you're looking to get a really good bargain, that's it. Buy the 3, get the 3. That's the way to go. I would suggest that as opposed to the one day. But like I said, 8 plays today. So you're getting the full thing of baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. I'm really excited about this day, and I can't wait to get the hell out of here, get another video up for my clients, and start watching some sports.
Hey, great working with you as always, Brian. Have a good day. Good luck on the bases. I got a West Coast baseball game up tonight. I also have a first 5 play up today. And of course, we're dealing with some 2025 data, maybe some spring training stuff as well. But I've been pretty deep in work with looking at all the pitchers and all the team stuff. You guys can get that. Should have at least 3 plays in baseball, but we don't want to get too overzealous with the start of the baseball, because, that can sometimes be bad news. So it looks like 2 or 3 plays. And so far, just the 1 NHL play, guys. So as these guys mentioned, get that buy 3, get 3 for free, 6 days, all access package. But also, if you want to jump on board with 2 great sports for me in the summer, it's a great deal. It's a BOGO special, MLB plus CFL, all summer long. The CFL runs for months. It doesn't close until November. You're going to get June, July, August, September, October, November of my CFL, all of my plays, plus all my MLB. So in that one package alone, you're going to get a ton of picks. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button on the way out. We'll see you tomorrow.